Manny Bautista, a graduate of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, class of 1982, had a distinguished athletic career. He was a 1978 junior college All American in track and field. He was a 1978 junior college All American in track and field while at South Plains Junior College in Levelland, Texas. Baptista transferred to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, where he was a member of four NCAA Division II national championship teams. He also earned All American honors in both cross country and track and field. He also competed in the 1984 Olympic marathon trials. Baptista followed his Hall of Fame coach Steve Miller to Kansas State University, where he began his coaching career first as a graduate assistant and later as a full-time assistant coach. In 1989, Mesa College hired him as the head men's and women's cross country coach and assistant track coach. During his 14-year coaching career at Mesa College, Baptista's team won four state championships. His 1994 Women's State Cross Country Championship team was the first women's state championship team in school history. The 1998 Women's State Championship in track and field remains the only state track and field team in the school's history to win a state championship. Baptista's 2000 and 2001 men's state cross country team were voted the number one community college team in the nation. Upon his retirement in 2002, Bautista had been voted California Community College Coach of the Year four times. In 1997, Bautista was named to his first international team as part of the World University Games staff for track and field. He has since served on a total of 18 national teams. He has been a staff member of three Pan American Games staffs and an IAAF World Championship staffs. In 2008, Bautista served on the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing, China. 2018, Bautista was elected to the California Community College Cross Country and Track and Fields Coach Association Hall of Fame. He continues to serve the Team USA in a number of capacities. He has been married to his wife Barbara for 39 years. They have one daughter, Megan. Bautista's hobbies include golf, a love of the beach, his 65 Mustang GT convertible, and he is a die-hard Dallas Cowboy and Los Angeles Dodger fan. Hi, this is Peter Godinez, your host of Your Pivot Journey, and we have another interesting interview with another fellow athlete that I train with at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and that's Coach Manny Bautista. And so, with that, I really am excited, Manny. Why don't you just quickly say hello to the audience here?
Hello, everybody. It's an honor to be part of this. I'm really looking forward to the next few minutes with everybody.
That's perfect. And, I have some questions, Manny, that again, the foundation of these interviews is a Zoom call that we have with our mentor, our coach, and that's Coach Steve Miller. And I'm going to give an opportunity at the end for people just to listen to the last 3 minutes that he really addresses his former athletes and coaches. And it was really inspiring. And it's the reason why we're doing these interviews. So many, we had so much influence on ourselves with Coach Miller, And one of the things that Coach Miller is constantly saying in his interviews is, you know, my athletes gave me more than I actually gave them. And I'd like to ask you, it's just basically, what do you think some of the core gifts and traits that Coach Manny Baptista actually brought to people? But what were some of the things you think you just brought to the table before Coach Miller's influence?
It's just the foundation that probably I was taught at home with my parents. I mean, my parents, my father is originally from Mexico, and I was first generation here, and he had a tremendous work ethic. He was a fireman, but also had another job. My mom was a working mom long before it was fashionable. So it was just the basic work ethic was the first foundation, and then the second one was just basic family values. I mean, um, to me, everybody, I'm Hispanic, so there's a lot of us. So I have a lot of tias and tios and uncles and aunts and all that, and so family was everything. So to me, teams were always just big families, and then I had a lot of brothers and all colors and from all over the place. And it just, I took that. And when I became coaching, I just started making my teams family. And like families, we had our ups and our downs. And from there, I taught them the values that you would need in life to work hard, to treat people well, to never give up. That was probably a big, big thing that I took. But those were things that I had learned prior to coming to Cal Poly. Those are the things that actually got me to Cal Poly.
On the surface, a coach's responsibility is to teach techniques, methods to get your athletes to run faster, jump higher, throw farther than anybody else. What are some of the things that you think, besides the technique, that your athletes are going to carry with them, for the rest of their lives? And then we're perfect examples of this, Manny, meaning that, most of us are over 60 now, but a lot of things we can't. Maybe you can run fast still, Manny, but I can't. But it's just the fact that, we eventually have to set aside the athleticism and we take something away other than the techniques. What do you think you're teaching your athletes and assistant coaches that's something that they're going to be able to carry for the rest of their lives?
Well, I think this is a really good question. I thought about it a lot, and what's really interesting is that you have to think about when you were in college, when I was in college, and then the dynamic that I work with. These kids don't have a frame of reference as to if we were to teach them or say to them, as if we were told, we want you to be good people, we want you to be good citizens. That was the farthest thing from our mind. And I'm at the community college level, so they have no clue what that means. So the only frame of reference is to win, but the winning is not the end result, but it's the process that I enjoy the most, bringing them along. Again, most of the dynamic that I have are students that didn't have the talent to go to 4 year, they didn't have the money, or even more so, they didn't have the academics. And so I would push them and drive them, and again, it was a work ethic. And with me, if you weren't doing well in school, then you weren't running, which I always thought was funny because everybody is punished by making them run. Ours was the opposite. We didn't let you run. And so it was a lot of it's very interesting when they come back, because I get a lot of them that come back or they email me or send me Christmas cards, and they reference the fact that, boy, you taught us a lot, but we didn't know you were teaching it to us. It was just basic things. It was the things that you need in real life, like you need to show up on time, and if you're on time, you're 5 minutes late. If something is due, you turn it in early. You treat people older than you, which in our case would be your professors, with respect. And when you're in public, you're representing in our case, the community college, and you carry yourselves well, so that you don't make the school look well. Something as simple as, every once in a while we'd raise money and we'd fly someplace, which is a big deal in a community college. And I would make all our athletes wear ties and all the girls in skirts, and the coaches wearing blazers. For me, that's difficult because I don't like ties, blazers, or pants. So, but I had to be the example. So, and we would actually have a time where I would bring in ties and teach them how to tie a tie. And then we'd get on the plane and we'd look sharp and we'd be in our ties with our warm up tops. And the stewardess or the flight attendants would like us and they'd announce us on the plane. And I remember one trip we were coming home, I was teaching them that this is a business trip. This isn't a vacation. So you dress like you're going to work. And then on the way back, they'd be like, Coach, do we get to wear our ties on the plane on the way home? I go, no, the business trip is over. You can wear your t-shirts or your hoodies or whatever you want. And to this day, people talk about that all the time. So, and people would come back and say, I learned how to tie a tie because of Coach Bautista. And I learned that when I was going to, go on a business trip, I had to dress like I was going on a business trip. You try to teach that to an 18, 19-year-old kid from, not a good environment, they won't come to your school. So for lack of a better term, you had to fool them by using winning and training into the things that were going to help them as they became adults.
So, what advice would you give, Manny, to younger coaches and people who are considering the profession of coaching? What would you say to them?
Again, I really, really appreciate that question. I appreciate you asking that because I actually get that from time to time from my younger up and coming folks that want to be a coach. The first thing I would tell them is just be yourself. You are who you are. I think in today's world with the social media that's out there and the TV, people get on YouTube and they'll see a coach that, a Bill Belichick or somebody like that, and they want to be Bill Belichick. Well, there's only one of him, and you're your own person. So your personality needs to be your personality. I loved Coach Miller, but I was not Coach Miller. We were from different parts of the world, but I was who I was, and I took that to heart, and I was just always myself. Some days I'd be more angry than others, and some days I'd be a lot more funny than others. But I was who I was, and the other, that. So that's the key. That's the foundation. The other couple of things I would say are just things like, away from the technical part, I'll get to that in a second, but get to know your athletes on a personal level. I knew all my athletes and I had a big team for a cross country team and my track teams were pretty big, even though I wasn't the head coach. But every day I made a point, we used to warm up in a big circle. And the reason we did that was so I could walk around every day and just check on them. And some days it was things like, how was school today? How's class going? You had a test. How did that go? Or it'd be things like, you know, the 49ers suck. I don't like them, but I'll let you stay on the team, um, or I don't like the Giants. We talk baseball or, how's your girlfriend or how's your boyfriend? This again, before cell phones, yes, they'll probably call tonight. Don't worry about it. Uh, and how's your parents doing? If people had problems. So I always kind of had a feel for just I could look in their eyes and tell what kind of day they were going to have or what day they maybe they had a bad day and we try to make a good day out of it. And then from a technical standpoint, just be current. You don't want 1996 calling and wanting their workouts back. I mean, in today's day and age, it's very easy to be current. Coaching is an interesting thing in our sport. It's a combination of science and art. Um, Track and field and cross country is not an X's and O's sport. We're not running a cover two or we don't have a point guard bringing the ball up. We have to know when somebody's tired. We have to know if their step is off in the vault, or they're stepping in the bucket in the discus. We have to know that. But there's an art to bringing that out so that they get it right versus here, the safety's moving up here, so you need to look to the right, that type of stuff. We don't do it that way. So with the combination of the art and the science, there's a big mental part to it. Um, and there's a whole bunch of yes, you can, don't give up on this. Yes, you'll be able to get your hips through. Let's break it down a little bit. Uh, and that comes back to being yourself and how you get the message across.
No, it's very much, and I would just build on what you're saying. And I think you mentioned it because, like, the mental part of it, and I see it in the way you were an athlete and you were a coach. But the responsibility that you have as a mentor or a coach, and knowing that you could have the most positive impact on a human soul But then, Manny, you realize the opposite can happen, that you can have the person can go on and live life with so many issues as a result of what a mentor or coach can do. And I can see by your example that it's more a positive influence. And I'm sure some of the athletes that you're coaching have got to be in their what, 30s, 40s. Who's their oldest?
Yeah, they're that's a great question, but a lot of them, I hate when I find out they're like over 45 because that makes me feel really old.
Of course.
Yeah, but now, I mean, I can tell you that, for example, we have a young man that's going to come run in our program next year whose dad ran for me. And that's it. And the dad, interesting little side note on the dad. The dad, I went to recruit him, Hispanic kid out of our South Bay, and he was going to join the Marines. And I said, son, he was pretty smart. I said, don't join the Marines. Why don't you try our school for a year? If you don't like it, then you can join the Marines. But if you graduate from a 4-year school, you still choose to go in the service, you're going to go in as an officer, a commissioned officer. So he came, he ran for me for a couple of years, did fine, transferred to San Diego State, didn't run anymore, then went into the Marines as a commissioned officer. Now, he always wanted to go into law enforcement. And, he's a Hispanic kid. And I said, man, don't go in the DEA. They're going to send you to Mexico and you're going to get killed. So he is now a very high ranking guy in the DEA, and he's going to be at the consulate, or the consulate in Mexico City. And his son is going to come run for the guy that coaches our team now, who ran for me, who was my captain on my championship teams. But he emailed me a long email, said, Coach, I remember when you came to my school and you talked me out of joining the service for a while, and I went in as an officer, and it set me up for being in the DEA. And now I forget what his title, but he's pretty high because he's going to be working in the
Pretty
embassy. So
impressive.
he goes, and I'm safe, coach. I'm in the embassy. They're not going to kill me. I've got other people that I'm sending out in the field. So it's just things like that, that you get to point people in the right
I'm
direction.
back in what you just said. Really good advice that basically changed the course of this young man's life. And that's the excitement about being a coach and the example you're setting for future generations. And I got to say, when Coach Miller asked what was the average age of the person who he was coaching, and somebody, I think it was Terry Bowers, said 52. I think he passed out and had to be revived. So, we still look good though, Manny. And, the last question I have for you is again, this is something, your answer is going to be seen while we're messing around in paradise and heaven. But, how do you want to be remembered?
That's a really good question. I don't even know if I know the answer. I think is someone that was really caring about the people that he worked with. Because when I retired from coaching, I went on to teach in my school, and I still get a lot of emails from students. I went on to teach people that were going to be teachers, how to teach PE to little kids, and I encouraged them, and they graduated, and I'd get an email back, and I used to teach them how to invest their money, like you're a teacher, and put your money in a 403b, and you'll live really well. And I got a lot of emails back on things like that. But I think the biggest thing is just somebody that was really passionate about what they did and cared deeply for the people that they coached, wanted to see them go on and be good people. That's from the professional standpoint. I think the biggest thing, I just want to be known as somebody that was a really good father and husband, because if you can't take care of your own, then you shouldn't be taking care of other people's kids. And that's why I retired early from coaching, was to be a dad. I was never home.
Mm.
And I just wanted to be home. I was missing things, and I think I don't regret the decision, but I loved what I did. I loved coaching. I wanted to be a coach. I didn't have a plan B, man. That's all I ever wanted to be, was a coach.
Well,
Honest, there was no plan B. Since the third grade, I wanted to be a coach. Back then, I wanted to be a baseball coach because you got to wear a uniform. But I running found me, and when I'm long gone, and they say, "Yeah, Coach Bautista, he was tough, but really he just cared about us, and he made me a better person." That's pretty much why I got into it.
no, that was beautiful, Manny. I mean, I could do a whole series on the stories of you and some of the traits that you had and the examples and the dedication, but I'll save that for a future production. So I really want to thank you for this time that you gave to us. It was great seeing your bride, and we'll just make sure we keep in contact. And so with that, Manny, thank you so much, for your time. So I can close this off by saying this is Peter Godinas, your host of Your Pivot Journey. Until the next time, goodbye.